أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Those are the people whose deeds are seized in this world and in the next. It's not like their deeds were giving them blessings in this world, and eventually in the akhirah they came to be surprised, oh my God, they didn't count. Actually, they will enjoy no blessings of their good deeds even here. You know, when we do good deeds, we see the fruits of it in the akhirah, and we see some fruits of it even in this world. For example, a good, clean, pure, khushu'-filled salah will give you peace of heart. It's a gift you will enjoy here. Akhirah is akhirah, but you'll even enjoy a gift of it here. When you give sadaqah purely for the sake of Allah, you'll see an increase in your rizq in akhirah, also in dunya. The Messenger says, مَا نَقَصَ مَالٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ. You know, giving sadaqah does not decrease wealth at all. It doesn't decrease. Right? You'll see consequences of your good deeds here too. These people, what they think are good deeds, you know, the Quraysh, for example, were custodians of the Kaaba. They used to give water to the people who used to come to make Hajj. They used to take care of the house and clean it up and all this. They thought these were good deeds. They will see none of its goodness in this world nor in the next. حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَمَا لَهُم مِّن نَاصِرِينَ. And by the way, eventually when they get to the akhirah, they'll have no helpers, no aids whatsoever coming for them. أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا نَصِيبًا مِّنَ الْكِتَابِ. Didn't you look to those who were given a portion from the book? Nasib is a very particular portion that comes your way. And nasib is something you can benefit from. A portion that comes to you that you can benefit from. Let me give you a contemporary example of nasib. A really delicious chocolate cake comes to the house and it's being sliced. And children's eyes are getting bigger and bigger by every cut. And then they get their nasib. They get the portion they really want. This is nasib. Allah describes the book as a nasib of the people. This is something delicious for you, that you were given from the book. You're so fortunate to have my words. You're so fortunate to have that blessing with you. That treasure you got, that portion, your portion of the treasure. You were given that. By the way, this is also a review from Surah Al-Baqarah. وَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ كِتَابٌ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ مُصَدِّقٌ لِمَا مَعَهُمْ. When a book came to them, confirming what they already had. You know, there's a gift came to them. نَصِيبًا مِّنَ الْكِتَابِ يُدْعَوْنَا إِلَى كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. Yud'auna is passive. Yud'auna. They're being invited by means of that book. They are being invited to the book of Allah. لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُمْ. So they may make decisions between them. Again, to make decisions between people is a matter of what? Justice. That's again a matter of justice. So Allah is now connecting not just Islam to justice, but the book itself to justice. The point of the book was to make fair judgments between people. That's what they were invited to do by the book. The book was inviting them to become a people of fairness. ثُمَّ يَتَوَلَّى فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ. Then they turn away. A group of them turns away. Fariq comes from farq. Farq means difference. Fariq means a faction that cuts itself off and wants to be different. They want not just jama'ah. Jama'ah is actually a small union. So the word jama'ah, if you translate it as group, is actually a unified group. Because it comes from jama'ah. Fariq is the opposite of jama'ah. Right? A faction that cuts itself off is a fariq. They cut themselves off and they turned away وَهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ while they were deliberately ignoring. They were deliberately ignoring the instructions that were being given. They knew that they have to live by them, but they conveniently overlooked them. ثُمَّ يَتَوَلَّى فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ وَهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. You know, in this ayah there are also some very powerful lessons, but at least one of them should be mentioned. And that is, you can have people that have an allegiance to the book of Allah. Maybe that allegiance amounts to them reciting it beautifully, because reciting the book with proper tajweed is a right of the Qur'an. وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. Maybe their allegiance to the book amounts to them studying its meanings diligently, maybe to memorizing it, maybe to celebrating its recitation, etc., etc. But when it comes to the book making decisions for them, making their business decisions, making their family decisions, making their inheritance decisions, you know, making their purchasing decisions, when it starts tampering with other matters of life, then they conveniently turn away. So you can have people that have some relationship with the book, except when it comes to making important family or life decisions, right? Otherwise they claim an allegiance to it. Otherwise they use, yeah, of course we believe in Qur'an. Of course, why not? But when you bring up a certain matter and say, look at what Allah says. It's, you know, yeah, I know, thanks. And you just don't want to deal with it. You don't want it to become, and they find some way of ignoring the advice. وَهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. Why does a person do that to begin with? ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا, that is because they said, لَن تَمَسَّنَا النَّارِ إِلَّا أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. That's because they said the fire won't touch us except very few days. It's only going to touch us a little bit. It's not going to be that bad. By the way, this was mentioned in Baqarah also, yes or no? Yeah. لَن تَمَسَّنَا النَّارُ إِلَّا أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَةٍ. Here, إِلَّا أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. Ma'dudat with alif ta, it's called jam'u qilla. It's a minimal plural. What this implies is a long weekend. Won't be that long. Ma'dudah, the ta marbuta, is actually more days. Ma'dudat is less days. This is less days. Interestingly, more sins had been mentioned in Baqarah by the time we got to this ayah. And even they realized, okay, maybe a little more than a few days. So ma'dudah. Here, lesser sins have been mentioned in comparison to Baqarah, so they just stop at, they say, it's not that bad. Ma'dudat. It's dependent on the context. وَغَرَّهُمْ فِي دِينِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. What an interesting consequence. And in their religion, especially when it came to their religion, whatever they used to make up, iftara, yaftari, iftira'an, the Arabic word, implies to make something up. To make something up. Okay? This, Allah says, because of what they made up, what did they make up? We're only going to, if we do burn, it's going to be for just a couple of days. That's what they made up. Allah says, because of what they made up, started deluding themselves. In other words, they knew originally they made that up to make themselves feel better, but they said it for so long that they actually started believing it too. They started living the lie themselves. وَغَرَّهُمْ فِي دِينِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. Whatever they used to make up started deluding them themselves. I mean, the original idea was to just say this to others to feel better about themselves, but now they actually started believing it too. فَكَيْفَ إِذَا جَمَعْنَاهُمْ. By the way, here we learn the power of propaganda. You hear even the wrong thing enough times, you'll start believing it. You say the wrong thing enough times, you'll start believing it. You know? Fox. Anyway, so فَكَيْفَ إِذَا جَمَعْنَاهُمْ لِيَوْمٍ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. And how will it be? فَكَيْفَ. You know, sometimes it's actually كيف يكون. كيف يكون ذلك اليوم. How will that day be? But that day is so powerful, it just says كيف. Just how is it going to be? Just كيف itself. It's like an epic declaration. كيف إذا جمعناهم. When we gather them. ليوم لا ريب فيه. We gather them for a day in which there is absolutely no doubt. By the way, they were fariq, yes? Fariq means they cut themselves off, they went apart. And now what is Allah doing? Get back here. جمعناهم. In a day, towards a day in which there's no... And by the way, you're worried about not burning for a few days. Before you worry about those days, there's another day. You got to get through that day before you talk about how much time you deserve. لِيَوْمٍ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. Towards a day in which there is no doubt. This has already come in the form of dua. رَبَّنَا إِنَّكَ جَامِعُ النَّاسِ لِيَوْمٍ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. It is like these people forgot to make that dua, and therefore forgot to realize that day is coming, in which Allah will fulfill His promise. وَوُفِّيَتْ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ. And every person will have been given everything that they earned in full. وَفَّى يُوَفِّي تَوْفِيَةً in Arabic is to give somebody something fully. It's one thing to pay somebody. It's another to put in the pay stub or in the check, at the bottom, as a note, paid in full. Okay? وُفِّيَتْ. That's what you would write in Arabic. Paid in full. Okay? وَوُفِّيَتْ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ. Every person will be paid in full whatever he or she earned. Every person will be paid in full. Now, Arabic students here know, وُفِّيَتْ is past tense or present tense? It's passive, but it's past tense, right? In Surah Al-Baqarah, we read, ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ. ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ. Here we're learning وُفِّيَتْ. وَفَّى يُوَفِّي تَوْفِيَا. وُفِّيَا يُوَفَّى. Right? The passive version. Sometimes Allah uses the present tense, sometimes Allah uses the past tense. This is actually part of the miracle of the Quran. Something I truly am fascinated by, especially when it comes to this particular verb. وَفَّى يُوَفِّي تَوْفِيَةً. Allah Azza wa Jal uses the past tense and says every person was given whatever they earned in full. Talking about the Day of Judgment. Is that something in the future or the past? Day of Judgment. It's in the future. Sometimes Allah talks about the Day of Judgment using the present tense, which obviously encapsulates the future. Rhetorically, the past tense can also encapsulate the future in a sense of a guarantee. Okay, if you can, in Arabic, you can use the past tense to talk about the future tense as a rhetorical thing. In classical Arabic, it's possible. It's kind of similar to in English how we say, hey, did you do the homework? It's like, done deal. Done deal implies I haven't done it, but I will guaranteed. Consider it done. Done in other words, past tense, right? Which you're guaranteeing in a sense. Now, what the Quran does is remarkable. All the ayat in which the central subject has to do with Allah, the giving in full is in the past tense. I'll say that again. All the ayat in which the central subject is Allah, the giving in full, wafa yuwafi, is in the past tense. The phrase you'll find is wuffiyat. All the ayat in which the central subject is the human being, the tense used is the present future tense. Allah is the owner of time. For Allah, He's not waiting for the future to happen. When He talks about a future event, He declares His ownership of the future, and He has the right to talk about it as though it's the past. But when the subject of the ayah is the human being, when the primary subject of the discourse is the human being, human beings are subjects of time. We have to wait for it to happen. The present future tense is used. And this play on tenses is something consistent throughout the Quran. I'll just give you one example of the future tense. وَمَا كَانَ لِنَبِيٍّ أَنْ يَغُلَّ وَمَنْ يَغْلُلْ يَأْتِ بِمَا غَلَّ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى not وُفِّيَتْ ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ. It's not becoming of a prophet to have, any prophet, to have worldly aspirations. And whoever does will come with whatever aspirations they had on the Day of Judgment. Then every person will be given whatever they earned in full. Same phrase, they'll be given whatever they earned in full. But there, the tense used is the future tense. Why? Because the subject matter was what? Human being or Allah? Human being. Here, how will it be when we gather them, jama'nahum, for a day in which there is no doubt? What's the central subject? Allah. Him gathering. وَفِّيَتْ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. And they will not be wronged at all. I'd like you to keep this meaning of wafa yuwaffi in mind, because it'll help us deal with a very famous controversy in contemporary times, dealing with the ayat that are coming, that will use the same root as wafa yuwaffi. The root letters are waw, fa, and ya. There's two vowels in it, waw, fa, and ya. And so far the meaning we've covered is that of giving or paying in full. We'll end here. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim. ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. Inshallah ta'ala, in the next session we'll also pick up the pace a little bit. قل اللهم مالك الملك تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء بيدك الخير إنك على كل شيء قدير تولج الليل في النهار وتولج النهار في الليل وتخرج الحي من الميت وتخرج الميت من الحي وترزق من تشاء بغير حساب رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. We reached ayah number 26 in our conversation about Surah Al-Imran, and this is actually one of the more famous du'as in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned right before this people who were given the book, and actually people who were given the book, specifically those who turned away from it knowingly, referring to the Jewish community, the Bani Israel, they were also given a lot of kingdom and dominion. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions this towards the end of Surah Al-Baqarah. And Allah Atahu Allahu mulka wal hikmata wa 'allamahu mimma yasha. Dawood alayhi salam was given kingdom, dominion, and he taught him from whatever Allah wanted. And from there, from the kingdom of Dawood alayhi salam, then eventually the rule of Sulaiman alayhi salam and the khilafah of Sulaiman alayhi salam spread to almost the entire planet. So it was a huge empire, probably unprecedented even human history, that came under his rule. And so when Allah Azza wa Jal mentions people who were given the book and they were delusional and they thought that they were not going to be responsible on Judgment Day, Allah Azza wa Jal now mentions, even if you're going to realize you have no control on Judgment Day, but you should know you don't even have control now. There are two kinds of du'as in the Quran in some sense. Sometimes Allah just goes straight into a dua and He quotes people. People say this. There are certain kinds of people who make this kind of dua. وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا إِنَّنَا آمَنَّا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا قَالُوا الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ People make a certain dua. And so you and I are being taught, look, these are the kinds of people that say, at this occasion, they say this. So when a similar occasion comes to you, you should say this. There are other times where Allah deems it so important that this dua is not even context-based, you should just say it. Qul. It's qul. So this qul is actually significant here. It's a commandment from Allah Azza wa Jal. So it's not just a dua that is quoted off the mouth of somebody else. It is Allah's own dua. This is the dua of Allah Azza wa Jal honoring us with this dua Himself and commanding us through His Messenger ﷺ that this is a significant dua for you and I to know. قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ Say, O Allah. Allahumma, by the way, is the word Allah and then there's an extra meme with a shadda. A lot of times people get confused and say, oh, why is there a hum in Allah? Hum means they, right? The plural. Well, it's not plural for several reasons. First of all, hum is a third person pronoun. It's a third person pronoun and it's made up of two letters, ha and mim. Allahumma, the letter ha is already in the word Allah. Right? So if you add a hum to that, then that would be Allah and then another ha and then mim. The second issue with that is calling Allah is a matter of the second person. And hum is a matter of the third person. It doesn't make any sense that that's humma. Okay? Fourthly, that's never how it was ever previously understood. So it's just an absurd kind of thing. Now, what is Allahumma? It's actually, there's two ways of calling on Allah. There's Ya Allah and Allahumma. That extra meme at the end is used in certain Arabic words in classical Arabic to call somebody. So for example, when calling Allah particularly, we say Allahumma, it's coined. But in another word, for example, for calling somebody is halumma. When you say, hey, come on, you can say in Arabic, ta'alaw. Come here. And ta'ala is a verb that only comes in the command form. There's no past, no present, no nothing, except command form. Okay? Ta'ala, ta'alaya, and the plural is ta'alaw. But if you're calling someone, another way of calling them is halumma. Come here. Halumma. Halumma ilayna. Come to us. Get over here. Halumma ilayna. In Surah Al-An'am, we'll see a comparison between ta'alaw and halumma. One ayah will say ta'alaw ila. Ta'alaw. And the next one will say halumma. Okay, so we'll see why Allah uses two different ways of saying come on over there. But the point I'm trying to make is this meme shadda is a device of calling. So Allahumma is also a device of calling Allah Azza wa Jal. Now typically in the Sunnah literature, we find the prophetic supplications, the du'as of the Prophet ﷺ, they have a lot of Allahumma in them. And the norm for du'as in the Quran is Rabbana. That's the norm of du'as in the Quran. And many of you already knew that. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyatina. You guys know these du'as, very famous supplications. And they mostly have Rabbana in them. So Allahumma, this du'a is unique in the Quran. Or it's one of the unprecedented. It's not common for the Quran to have this format of du'a. Allahumma malik al-mulk. Notice how the word malika for grammar students is mansub. It's got a fatha on it. That indicates you're calling Allah. Because when the mudaf is being called, it becomes mansub. Allahumma malik al-mulk. O Allah, the owner of all dominion. This is actually very beautiful. Because malik in Arabic means owner. So the mulk is the infinitive, right? The infinitive should be malikul milk. Not milk in English. Milk in Arabic means ownership. Stuff you own is milk. Mulk is dominion, kingdom. But for a kingdom, it's the king of the kingdom, yes? The king of the kingdom. So it's malikul mulk. But Allah says, malikul mulk. Malikul mulk. So He combines ownership and kingdom both. Because the word malik covers ownership, and the word mulk covers kingdom. If He said malikul mulk, the only thing captured in this phrase would have been kingdom. If He said malikul milk, then the only thing captured would have been ownership. But He combined both. Malikul mulk, the owner of kingdom. Now let's talk about not just what is captured, but what that benefit of that is. What does that imply? What does that signify? Kingdom is something huge. Kingdom is not something small. But ownership is something small. I own a pen. I'm not a king of my pen. I just own it. I'm not the sovereign of my Toyota. I just own it. Right? When you own something, you have complete control over it. You know it's backwards and forwards. It's in your hand. It's like you have microscopic control over it. If you have dominion, you're a king. You have a huge territory. You're king of an island. You're king of a territory. You're king of the sea. Do you have microscopic control like you do over your pen? No. You have overall authority. You could say you have a macro, satellite authority over the thing, but you don't control every little thing. But Allah is unique that He has ownership, He has kingdom, but He doesn't just have kingdom or dominion over His kingdom, He has ownership over His kingdom. In other words, every single speck, every leaf falling off of every tree, He has complete control over. No king can ever do that. Even an owner can't do that technically. An owner can own a garden but can't control every branch and every tree. He can't do it. Allah Azza wa Jalla is Malikul Mulk. It's a profound statement, declaring Allah's absolute authority and dominion and power. Okay? So Malikul Mulk. Tu'til mulka man tasha. You give dominion to whoever you want. Now Allah didn't just say Tu'til milka. Which is giving more? If somebody gives you ownership of something or somebody gives you dominion over something, which is more? Somebody gives you dominion over something, it's a huge gift. So when we are making dua to Allah, we're not asking for something small, we're asking for something big. And we're saying, Allah, you've done it before. تُؤْتِي الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. You have given mulk, you have given kingdom, you have given dominion to whoever you want, even Fir'aun. وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ. And you have pulled kingdom and dominion away. Let's talk a little bit about the word naza'a. Naza'a yanza'u. Naz'an. Okay? The ism fa'il of this word, فَهُوَ نَازِعْ, is used in وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا. Right? نَازِعَات. Naza'a is to pull something out of a place where it was happy and stationary. It was supposed to be there, it was relaxed, it was well situated, and then you yanked it out. So like, you know when you pull a plant from out of its root? It was well situated, it was defined inside, it was deeply rooted, and you yanked it out. This is nazar. Nazar could be like you're getting a root canal, you're getting your tooth pulled out. This is also nazar. It's not something, it's very happy where it is. It takes a lot of force to pull it out. You know what that implies? Sometimes dominion, kingdoms are set, they're stable, their rule has gone on as dynasties. Nobody could imagine that they're going to be turned over. If you ask for, contemporary example, if you asked a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe even 8 months, even if you asked 3 weeks before the Arab Spring started, even if you asked 2 weeks before the Arab Spring started, these Arab dictators, you think they're going to fall? You think Hosni Mubarak is going anywhere? Even people in Egypt, what would they say? No way. There's no way. The pyramids will turn upside down before he leaves. Right? You couldn't have imagined it. But when Allah decides, no matter how deeply rooted you are, tanzi'ul mulk. Just pulls it out, He yanks it out. He rips it away. From whoever you rip it away from whoever you want. You put something out from where it was stationed. وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. And you honor somebody, whoever. And you give them authority, and by that authority you give them honor to whoever you want. وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. And dhillah, or over here, idlal, from adalla yudhillu, idlalan, fahuwa mudhil, right? Idlal is to humiliate someone, but actually, originally, it means to weaken someone. When humiliation is a result of weakness. When you're made incapable, you can't do anything, you're getting beat up, you can't even respond, that's humiliating. So it's not humiliation in and of itself, it's a humiliation that is a result of weakness. So you understand the word izza and dhillah now. Izza is not just respect that comes from authority. Dhillah is not just humiliation, it's humiliation that comes from lack of authority, lack of power. Okay? So Allah says, and we say to Allah, وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. You dignify, you honor, you empower whoever you want. And you humiliate, you debase whoever you want. بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ. What a declaration. In your hand alone is all good. All good is your property alone. You know what that means? Whatever you do, whether you give dominion or take dominion, whether you give honor or give humiliation, whatever you do, it can only be good. عسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم. عسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم. وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم. It could be you really hate something that's good for you. It could be you really, love something and it's terrible for you. It's evil for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah knows and you don't know. This is us having learned that lesson, and the summary of that lesson is بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ. All that can come out of your hand is good. Whatever you execute, you possess all goodness. And all of these things that Allah does, in the end, they can only be good. بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ. And not only is only good coming out of you, you are capable of doing any good you want. إِنَّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٍ. No doubt you are in complete control over all things. تُولِجُ اللَّيْلَ فِي النَّهَارِ. You stuff. وَلَجَ يَلِجُ, it's, أَوْلَجَ يُولِجُ actually. It's sometimes compared in tafasir that are mukhtasar, that are like abbreviated tafasir, they say أَخْرَجَ يُخْرِجُ. Right? Or أَدْخَلَ يُدْخِلُ actually. To enter something into something else. Like if I put a coin inside a box, or like a can, this is أَدْخَلْتُ. You can even say أَوْلَجْتُ. But let me give you a visual of comparison between أَدْخَلْتُ and أَوْلَجْتُ so you understand this word. I take this napkin and I put it in here. Right? This is أَدْخَلْتُ. But if I took like a t-shirt, a big t-shirt, and I'm trying to stuff it, it's not fitting it, and stuffing it in there, this is أَوْلَجْتُ. Like you don't just put something in, you stuff it in. It's squeezed through a narrow opening and you stick it in. That's ilaj. That's ilaj. Right? Not Urdu speakers, not ilaj. That's a ilaj anyway. This is ilaj. Awlaja yuliju ilaj. We say tulijul layla. Allah says tulijul layla fin nahar. We're declaring to Allah, you stuff the night into the day. It's like you force it onto it. You make it take over. وَتُولِجُ اللَّيْلَ فِي النَّهَارِ. It implies the force of the night and the day, the struggle between the night and the day. Other times Allah captures that as اختلاف الليل والنهار. يَعْلَمُ مَا يَلِجُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَمَا يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا. He knows what goes deep into, what gets stuffed into the earth. It doesn't want to go in and it's pushed. You have to dig the earth and stick it in and put dirt on top. يَلِجُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. So تُولِجُ النَّهَارَ فِي اللَّيْلِ. And you bring the morning out of the night. You stuff the morning into the night, rather. وَتُخْرِجُ الْحَيَّ مِنَ الْمَيِّتِ. And you bring out the living from the dead. You bring out the living from the dead. What does that mean, you bring out the living from the dead? Well, some argue it's the nutfa, the sperm. Some argue it's some mufassirun gave the example of the egg and the chicken. The chicken the egg is in itself dead and then it gives life, etc. Then seeds giving plants, etc. تخرج الحي من الميت. But the most beautiful expression that I found on this explanation of this, inshallah I'll share with you when I'm done with this expression. وَتُخْرِجُ الْمَيِّتَ مِنَ الْحَيِّ. And you bring the dead out of the living. You bring the living out of the dead and the dead out of the living. Some describe this as the mother. Sometimes she gives birth to a child and she dies. And sometimes she gives birth to a stillborn. And either way happens. Others said, the most beautiful thing I ever read on this though, it was said by Al-Alusi rahimahullah, sometimes Allah makes believers born of disbelieving families, and sometimes Allah brings disbelievers out of believing families. So in his mind, the living are who? Believers. And disbelievers are as good as dead. That's how he sees it. Subhanallah, it's deep. And that's inspired by a statement in Surah Yasin actually. In Surah Yasin, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, لِيُنذِرَ مَنْ كَانَ حَيًّا. So He may warn those who are really, truly alive. Truly alive. Because those who can't get warned, whose hearts are dead, they're dead then. If they're spiritually dead, that means they might as well be dead. We just see their bodies in good health, but their hearts have decayed and just rotting. So that's the spiritual look at تُخْرِجُ الْحَيَّ مِنَ الْمَيِّتِ وَتُخْرِجُ الْمَيِّتَ مِنَ الْحَيِّ وَتَرْزُقُ مَنْ تَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. And you provision whoever you want. You provide whoever you want without any limitation. In this ayah also, so far, تَرْزُقُ مَنْ تَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Because of this last part of the ayah, we find an interesting advice given by the Prophet ﷺ based on these ayat. Mu'adh radiallahu ta'ala anhu came to the Prophet ﷺ and he was complaining about how much he's buried under debt and he can't get out. He was overwhelmed with debt. So the Prophet told him to recite these ayat. قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ تُؤْتِي الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء بيدك الخير إنك على كل شيء قدير تولج الليل في النهار وتولج النهار في الليل وتخرج الحي من الميت وتخرج الميت من الحي وترزق من تشاء بغير حساب. And then the Prophet ﷺ told him to add to that this dua that I put on the screen for you students. I'll recite it for those of you that are watching. Ya Rahman ad-dunya wal-akhirah wa rahimahuma. O the most merciful of this world and the next. You're calling on Allah as Rahman, of ad-dunya wal-akhirah, and the one who is constantly merciful to both of them. تُعْطِي مَنْ تَشَاءُ مِنْهُمَا. You give to whoever you want from both of them. Meaning you give people dunya and you give them akhirah. وَتَمْنَعُ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. And you forbid whoever you want. You deprive whoever you want. إِرْحَمْنِي رَحْمَةً. Shower me with a special mercy. Show me mercy with a particular form of mercy. تُغْنِينِي بِهَا عَنْ رَحْمَةِ مَنْ سِوَاكَ. Beautiful expression. A kind of mercy that will make me free of need. Free of wanting to have mercy of anyone other than you. What that means, Allah, give me a kind of mercy that makes me so independent that the only mercy I'll depend on is yours, not the one I owe money to. Not somebody else who I'll have to ask them, please forgive my debt, let me go and put a later date, can you extend my deadline, etc., etc. Because right now I depend on their mercy. Oh Allah, give me a special kind of mercy that I don't need their mercy anymore. I just need yours. It frees me from having to want their mercy. Allahumma aghnini min al-faqri. Oh Allah, make me independent of poverty, of bankruptcy. Waqdi anni ad-dayn. And pay off for me this loan. Do away with this loan for me. Okay? And Rasulullah said, if your loan was even the size of the mountain of Uhud, this dua would be suffice. If your loan was the size of the mountain of Uhud. So by the way, I argue every college student should know this dua. Especially every med student should know this dua. Buried under debt. Right? You guys should. Everybody who's going into a home purchase, or they got into some silly car finance deal and they didn't realize what they're getting into, and then they woke up religiously later, better know this dua by heart. You should and sincerely make this dua and memorize these ayat. Now that Allah Azza wa Jal has expressed His power, His dominion, His ownership, and our dependence on Him, now the subject takes an unexpected turn. لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين. Believers should not take, لا يتخذي. See the kasra under that? لا يتخذي. It's لا يتخذ, it's sukun, which makes it fi'l amr of the ghaib. What that means is they should not. The believers should not take disbelievers, al-kafirin, as awliya. Awliya is the plural of the word wali. Wali means a protective friend, someone you can rely on in times of trouble. They should not take disbelievers as people they can rely on. This was said because Muslims had long-standing relationships with who we call kuffar very easily. We call the people of Quraysh kuffar. This was Uncle Kafir number 1 and Auntie Kafir number 2 for them. This was their cousin. This was their best friend. This was the guy they went to go slaughter camels with, and whatever they did back in the day, they did it together. Okay? These were their buddies. And now they've become kuffar. They've become kuffar. When you come to Medina, there are people that have been Jews and Christians their entire lives. And they recently just became Muslims. And their best friends hate the Prophet. Their best friend for life, their buddy, hates the Prophet ﷺ. Right? But that doesn't immediately change your relationship with them. You've been friends with them your entire life. And you know what happens with friends? Friends talk about stuff you can't talk about with your parents, you don't talk about with your employer, you don't talk about with anybody else, but you can open up to some very close friends. And if you've been friends for life, then that's very possible that you'll open up to them. And you'll expect them to, support you and be with you, etc. The Messenger is being told, or through him actually even, the Muslims are now being told in Qur'an, look, those are your friends, yes. You can have, a rifq with them, closeness with them. You can lean on each other, you can be friendly to each other, you can even have love among them, it's fine. But you can't rely on them. You can't look to them for protection. It's not healthy. You should not have that relationship with them. أولياء من دون المؤمنين. Then of course Muslims are a growing entity. In Medina even, Muslims are a growing entity. There are other entities around that are much more powerful even at that time. Even at the time of, when these ayat are being revealed, this is third year after Hijrah. Muslims are still not completely established as an entity. So maybe it's in our strategic advantage to have some allies or protectors and things like that. And Allah says, no. You need to understand, you shouldn't look for any other awliya other than myself. لا يتخذ مؤمنون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين, looking for protectors or protective friends other than believers. ومن يفعل ذلك, and whoever does that, فليس من الله في شيء, then you will find nothing with Allah. ليس من الله, from Allah he'll get nothing at all. فليس من الله في شيء. Interestingly, فليس من الله في شيء له. He doesn't get anything from Allah at all. But the he is not mentioned. He's not there. Lahu is not mentioned. This is a sort of style in the Arabic language, as though Allah is saying He's so offended by that, He doesn't even mention the guy. He just says literally like this. So there's nothing at all from Allah. He doesn't say there's nothing at all from Allah for him, because Allah does not dignify him with His words. Just nothing from Allah. Just know that much. Okay? إِلَّا أَن تَتَّقُوا مِنْهُمْ تُقَى. Except if you're trying to protect yourself from them. اتَّقَى يَتَّقِي اتِّقَاءً وَتَقْوَى. Did the mic fall? Is mic okay? I think it's okay. Why are you panicking? Oh, okay. إِلَّا أَن تَتَّقُوا مِنْهُمْ تُقَى. If you are trying to protect yourself from them out of the spirit of tuqa. Tuqa in Arabic it's actually a masdar, it's an infinitive. It comes from wiqatan. The original word is wiqatan, it's mithal, so the waw gets replaced with a ta. It's an unusual instance in Arabic, from waqa yaqi. Means protection. So if you're afraid from them and out of protection, you have a relationship with them. Now see the word illa here? What this implies is, you can't have wilaya, but you can have some relationship with them. Because wilaya has already been negated. So the exception is, maybe you can have some relationship with them where you're afraid they might harm you, so you can have peace treaties or things like that. This ayah predominantly is talking about, you could call it international relations. It's not talking about your relationship with your neighbor. The guy lives upstairs apartment from you, like, oh, kuffar. No, I can't say hello to him. It's not what this ayah is talking about. The Sahaba had very cordial relationships with Christians and Jews. They did, throughout their lives. But this is talking about as a matter of politics. Understand, these ayat are in the state of war. They're coming in the state of war. So when believers are addressed collectively, and then disbelievers are talked about, it's talking about Muslims versus the enemy. In that state of battle. And what should and shouldn't be the case. And in that state, you may have personal relationships, but they may have allegiances elsewhere to their armies, and they'll use that personal relationship to spy on the Muslims. We can't allow that. Okay? And if you are forced to have a relationship, it better be some kind of protection in terms of a treaty and things like that. Now there are some factions of the Muslims that have the with them so that you can attack them later, etc., etc. That's not what the implication is. Because, at the end of the day, our deen is about clarity and honesty. And we don't, if someone can take those meanings that clearly negate other standing principles of the religion, then we can't accept those kinds of meanings. You see what I'm saying? So, إِلَّا أَن تَتَّقُوا مِنْهُمْ تُقَى. By the way, Bani Israel had some rulings like that. They had some principles where, if you are, it's okay for you to lie or deceive someone who's not a believer for your own cause. Muslims don't have that. Because this is the very same surah that we'll say later on, لَيْسَ عَلَيْنَا فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ سَبِيلٌ. The Bani Israel had said, you can't make a case. We're not responsible to commit crimes against ummiyin, these Gentiles, these unlettered ones. There's no harm on us to do that. It's okay for us to, not pay them their wages or, lie to them and cheat them, etc., con them. It's okay for us to do that because we're not sinful for hurting a kafir in their sense. How would we be any different if we had the same attitude? It's just kuffar. It's okay, we don't have to worry about that. This is specifically in matters of protection. You can have some form of relationship with them, which is less than wilaya. This is why illa at the end is there. It's less than wilaya now, but some kind of relationship you may still have with them. And then Allah says, even that much, you should, if you're so afraid of them, maybe you're forgetting something. وَيُحَذِّرُكُمُ اللَّهُ نَفْسَهُ. And Allah is warning you of Himself. Allah is the one extending His threat to you. Tahdheer in Arabic comes from hadar. Hadar is one of the many words in Arabic for fear. But specifically, it is fear of something impending. Hadhara is to do something to get away from an impending danger. Like, if lightning struck and you hid behind a door, or you heard a loud noise and you jump back, this is hadhir. Yuhadhir, Allah is warning you of the immediate threat, which is who? Himself, if you disobey Him. If you're so worried about being protected. Allah is putting things in perspective. See, the ayat end towards the end. They end with Allah's power. They began with this declaration, Allahumma ma'alikal mulk tu'til mulka man tasha. So it's Allah is saying, yes, there is that exceptional situation, but you better try and get out of that situation ASAP. Because the real entity you should be worried about is myself. وَيُحَذِّرُكُمُ اللَّهُ نَفْسَهُ وَإِلَى اللَّهِ الْمَصِيرُ. And to Allah alone is the place of return. Sara yasiru, sayran. The ism dharf from it is masir. Masir, the place of return. Sara is actually used when you come back to some place eventually. In Urdu they have an expression, Lord ke buddu ghar ko aaye. Right? Or in Punjabi they say, jithe di khoti uthai aan khaloti. Right? That's what they say in Punjabi. But the idea is you went on a long trip, you were out and about, and eventually you ended up where you're supposed to. Finally you came back. This is masir. وَإِلَى اللَّهِ الْمَصِيرُ. And to Allah alone is the eventual place where you'll go around, do your thing, think you're free, travel the world, but at the end you're going to come back where you belong, back to Allah. It's the final return. That's why some translations say the final, eventual return. قُلْ إِن تُخْفُوا مَا فِي صُدُورِكُمْ أَوْ تُبْدُوهُ. Tell them, say, if you are all going to hide whatever's in your chest. Chest as opposed to heart. Qalb is Arabic word for heart. Sadr is Arabic word for chest. Imam Raghib al-Asfahani argues Sadr is ism dharf. It's a place, not a thing. Qalb is the thing, Sadr is its place. Which is bigger, obviously? Sadr. The implication of Sadr here is, there's a lot inside you you're hiding. Qalb is small, Sadr is big. So you got a lot hiding inside you. Whatever you're hiding, مَا فِي صُدُورِكُمْ أَوْ تُبْدُوهُ. Or you expose it. Whether you hide it or you expose it. Has this been mentioned in Baqarah? Is this review also? يُحَاسِبْكُمْ بِهِ اللَّهِ. Here he says, يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهِ. Allah will know it. Allah will already know it. This is jawab al-shart, يَعْلَمْ. That's why it's got a sukoon on it, right? يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهِ. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. And He knows whatever's in the skies and whatever's in the earth. وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And Allah is in complete control over all things. This is actually this is telling the person who Allah gave the window to. The window was, look, you can, for protection purposes, have some kind of cordial relationship with them. But if that relationship makes you feel safe, and you start fearing that, or you start actually taking them as awliya, then you're not taking Allah as the real threat. And whether you have that fear of Allah in your heart or not, Allah will know. Because nothing gets hidden from Allah. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ يَوْمَ تَجِدُ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا عَمِلَتْ مِنْ خَيْرٍ. The day on which every single person is going to find whatever they did, min khairin, of any good. Such a beautiful phrase. مَا عَمِلَتْ مِنْ خَيْرٍ. He didn't even say الَّذِي عَمِلَتْ. يَوْمَ تَجِدُ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ الَّذِي عَمِلَتْ. He said مَا عَمِلَتْ. The difference between الَّذِي and مَا is الَّذِي is known. Ma could be unknown. What that implies is nobody remembers you did a good deed. You don't even remember. Allah remembers. You don't even remember what you did. And it's not just some particular good deeds, min khairin, any kind of good deed. You didn't even realize it was a good deed. Somebody walked into the masjid and you just smiled at them like, hey, assalamu alaikum. Just that. And you went and put your dirty shoes on. You didn't even think anything twice of it. On Judgment Day, it shows up and you smiled at a believer. You fulfilled the sunnah of a Prophet ﷺ. You're like, what? I get that too? That's pretty awesome. You walked in, force of habit, you walked into the masjid with your right foot. You walked in with your right foot. I didn't even realize I was doing that. I was like accidental. You get it. Go ahead, take it. Min khairin. And then Allah says muhdaran. You know, in modern Arabic, ahdara yuhdiru ihdar means to bring something. And haddara yuhaddiru tahdir, to prepare something. It comes from hudur, to be present. Ahdara is to make something present. That's why the brief version of that in English is to bring. To bring. But that's actually, the technical word for bringing in Arabic is ata yu'ti ita. Okay, to bring, to give. But ahdara, it will be made, it will be presented. It will be made to stand. It will be made to be presented. Muhdar, now those of you that know sarf, ahdara yuhdiru ihdaran fahuwa muhdir, uhdira yuhdaru ihdaran fahuwa muhdaran. There's muhdaran over here. It will be made to be presented. It's like your deeds are gathered, and now they're made to stand in front of you. Muhdaran. This is all your stuff. So none of it gets away. It's like the implication, some of my deeds might get away. It's all captured and brought in front of you and shown. وَمَا عَمِلَتْ مِنْ سُوءٍ, and that's the scary part. And whatever that person had done, from any kind of nasty deed. I translated nasty deed on purpose. I didn't say evil deed, bad deed, sins. I said nasty deed. Su comes from sawa. Sawa means a corpse. Su is called evil deed because a corpse is nasty. It's ugly, it's hideous. You don't want to look at it. You want to cover it up. Right? So, su is an ugly, nasty deed. They'll all be gathered, small and big. يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ, he knows the stealing of the eyes. Like a little glance over there. Caught that too. That'll be brought also. A little bit of a snicker. People say something under their tongue. I really hate your guts. You're so ugly. What's that? What'd you say? Nothing? It was sneezing. Right? I have a funny sneeze this season. You know, you do that kind of stuff, all of it will come out. All of it will come out. I'm not backbiting or anything, but that brother's a real crook. You know, just because you said, I'm not backbiting or anything, that still means you're backbiting. It doesn't take that away. You know, and then people say, no, it's not a sin because I'm just saying. How is I'm just saying alleviating you from the sin? The angels were writing it down. He said, I'm just saying. Okay, let me erase it. No. He's just saying. Tells the other guy, he's just saying. You know, it doesn't work like that. وَمَا عَمِلَتْ مِنْ سُوءٍ, whatever you may have done of any kind of ugly deed, تَوَدُّ لَوْ أَنَّ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَهُ أَمَدًا بَعِيدًا, he will want. Wadda yawaddu is translated as love, yes? As habba yuhibbu, and hub also. Hub is translated as love also. Incidentally, hub comes from hab, which is grain. And the Arabs would love the grain. Why? They're kind of in the desert. This is life, right? So this is life itself. That's why even actually in some Arab countries, bread is called aish, life itself. Okay, bread is life itself. Interestingly, so stuff they love. Now, al-wud actually is to love something more than anything else. Like when you have a kind of love where all you think about is this one thing, this is called wud. When Allah says وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ, He's saying He has an intense kind of love for you. Where He's not, it's not kind of a kind of love like out of sight, out of mind kind of love. He's concerned with you extremely. And then He put it in the ism, mubalagha form anyway, wadud. Right? So He's extremely, extremely loving for you. It's not a normal love. It's not muhib. He made it far more powerful than that. Now here, tawaddu, this person standing on Judgment Day, all of his good deeds are brought, all of his bad deeds are brought, they're standing right in front of him. Everything he remembers, everything he doesn't remember. Just because, in court nowadays, these executives get caught, they get taken to trial, these Enron scandals and all these scandals that they're after, right? And they get taken to trial. Do you remember telling your executives to do this? What do they say? I don't recall. And I don't recall is the perfect, he doesn't remember, that makes it okay. On Judgment Day, whether you recall or not, it's on record. Here, let me remind you. It's right here. It's all been brought. None of it escaped. Everything got recorded. Right? So at that point, when he sees there's no escape, he's only got one a never-ending wish. What is it? لَوْ أَنَّ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَهُ أَمَدًا بَعِيدًا. If only there was some way that between it, the ha refers to all of his sins, and him. By the way, su itself is not feminine. Su is not feminine. But ma amilat min su'in, some say that all of the su combined, sayyi'at is the ha. Others say no, he himself. He himself. The ha is referring to him because nafs is feminine, and who is referring to the sin. Others say no, he's the person and the other way around. Regardless, which way you go, the thing he wishes for is there should be what between both of them? Amad. We won't even get to ba'id yet. Let's talk about amad. Amad is like masafa in Arabic. Masafa means distance. Except amad is not usually used for space, it's used for time. The longest possible unit of time in Arabic is amad. I'll say that again. The longest possible, like you have minute, hour, year, decade, century, eon. If you think of like endless unit of time, to them, the Arab, that word is amad. Like if you say, you know how if you say, man, if I was to walk to China, that would take forever? That would take an amad. It would take it literally an amad. Now we nowadays say forever for like, oh, it'll take me forever to get to the masjid, that's like a 10-minute walk, right? But I mean real forever, like an endless distance, and like the most far possibly imaginable distance is called amad. That's the amount of time it would take. He says not just that my sins should be far away from me, they should be at an endless distance, so just to get to them it should take an endless amount of time. Right? It's time that he wants to make endless. Because his turn's about to come, and he's hoping that the secretary on Judgment Day says, hey, wait, we're going to get his file. They're a little far away. And so it'll take a long time. He doesn't have to deal with the consequences of what he did. And then amad is already endless, and what does Allah add? Ba'idan. Far away. As though amad isn't far enough for him. It's like amad itself isn't far enough. He wants that to be ba'id. Subhanallah. وَيُحَذِّرُكُمُ اللَّهُ نَفْسَهُ. And Allah is warning you, threatening you of Himself. It's like the previous ayah said, don't take the disbelievers as guardians. You better watch out for Allah. And Allah reminds, let me tell you why you better watch out for Allah. And so He ends the ayah the same way again. وَيُحَذِّرُكُمُ اللَّهُ. Now do you get why you should watch out for Allah? وَيُحَذِّرُكُمُ اللَّهُ نَفْسَهُ. And at that point of terrifying us, Allah mentions His ra'fa. It's incredible. He says, no, I'm not all angry. I'm not all scary. وَاللَّهُ رَؤُوفٌ بِالْعِبَادِ. You need to appreciate something about the word Ra'uf. It's one of the most beautiful names of Allah. Beautiful names. Ra'fa is, you see you're watching, like a lot of you watch late night television because you can't go to sleep. And you watch those infomercials about, starving children, or, people that are like, don't have clean water supplies, or people that are sick and things like that, right? You see people in suffering. When you see people in suffering, your heart wrenches and want to do something to help them. When you have that feeling, you have ra'fa. To see someone in suffering and to have the urge to want to help them is called ra'fa. Allah is ra'uf. What that means is Allah is incredibly compassionate and feels the pain of His subjects, His slaves. He knows what they're going through and He feels mercy for them when He sees them in difficulty. Allah is telling us in ra'uf, He knows what we're going through. He feels for us. You know how I just got this long email by somebody. I'm supposed to respond. I'll probably talk about just this word. He talks about how he fell in love with this girl, but Allah took her away. My interpretation of that is she probably got married or something, but I don't know what he means by that. Allah took her away. And I know it was not exactly halal, but why does Allah make us love things and then take them away? It's not fair, etc., etc. Why doesn't He care about us? Blah, 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 blah. Allah is Rauf. Bottom line, Allah knows what you're feeling. Allah knows what you miss, what you want, what you really like to have. He's compassionate. He knows what you're going through. That's captured in Rauf. You know how you say, man, my parents can't relate to me. My friends don't understand me. Nobody can relate. Rauf is Allah saying, I can relate. I feel you. I got you. This is Wallahu Ra'ufun bil ibad. Of all slaves, of the slaves. He's Ra'uf of them. So yes, on the one hand, there is Judgment Day and this terrifying thing. And on the other hand, when you fall into sin, I know. And I know you're going through challenges, and I know you're going through difficulty at the same time. And so when someone realizes that about Allah, Allah knows what they're going through, and that He's there for them, then a love is generated between them and Allah. This is one of the things, one of the names of Allah that will make you want to love Allah. Is one of those names. You know, there are some names that will make you want to fear Allah. There are some names of Allah that will make you want to respect Allah. There are some of those names that will make you want to appreciate Allah. Appreciate Allah's power. Be in awe of Allah. Then there are some names that just make you want to love Him. Rauf is one of those names. It makes you want to love Allah Azza wa Jal, because He knows what you're going through. You know? And so here, and by the way, just to make this closer to something you can relate to, your closest friends are the ones that can relate to you. That you can talk to in solace, and they know what you're going through, and they'll give you good advice, and you have no inhibitions in talking to them. That lack of inhibition makes you want to love them even more. Marriages get ruined when husband and wife can't talk to each other anymore. When they don't understand each other's feelings anymore. When she says, I talk to you, but I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I don't think you feel anything. You know? It seems like an abstract thing, you don't feel anything. It's like, what do you mean? What do you want me to feel? The AC? What do you want me to feel? I don't understand. Right? But it's actually a very concrete thing. When you have a friend that you can actually talk to, have a real conversation, and they feel what you're going through.